Hi, investigators. It's Friday, the 20th of January, 2023, and we're going to be looking at the news that happened in civil investigations for licensed private investigators, government investigators and corporate investigators throughout Australia in the last week. There's been some really big developments in relation to security training and investigation training in Victoria, and there's been some developments happening in other areas around the country. So first up this week, though, we better have a look at some of the job vacancies that are available out there today that have just come up this week. And you can see all our job vacancies here in episode 190 of Spy Curious. That's over 3 years of Friday afternoons we've been presenting this, bringing you these vacancies on this Facebook page. If you're looking for a job as an investigator in Australia, g'day Sharon, how you going? Good to hear from you. I hope you've got your certificate has arrived yet. Let me know. So if you're looking for a job as an investigator in Australia, jump on the Facebook to Australian Private Investigator Corporate and Government Investigation Jobs. You have to answer 2 questions to get access to it. Are you an Australian citizen? Are you looking for work as an investigator? If you answer those questions, then I will personally put you into that group. So these are really amazing jobs. So let's just have a look at some of them and I'll come back and show you some more later. NHN in New South Wales, Vendor Management Australia are looking for desktop investigators in Victoria, in New South Wales, in Queensland, Tasmania, everywhere. You won't do better than working for Vendor Management Australia. They're a great team. They will onboard you. They will bring you into the industry. They will look after you. They will grow your career and you will have fun in your job. And you've heard Andy Chambers come on this program and said, if you don't have fun in it, don't do it. Because if you haven't got a sense of humour, you're just a miserable prick. You will never succeed in this occupation at all. You must be able to have some fun in your job and you will have fun in your work at vendor management. I guarantee it, you certainly will. This is an amazing opportunity and the timing is absolutely perfect. New fraud manager at Suncorp Metway. Yeah, there's a new one now in charge. So different system there now, different world, and you won't get a better time to be there. All right, so they want a fraud investigator in Brisbane. You won't necessarily have to have a private investigator's license for this one because it's a corporate position for an insurance company internally. So you'll need probably a Certificate 3 in Investigative Services or a Certificate 4 in Government Investigation for it, or a Diploma of Fraud Control would be handy, but a great opportunity and great timing now for Suncorp Metway with the new fraud manager. G'day, Tony. Great to see you checking in, mate. We've just had Evan, Tony, presenting in Investigations Uni and did an absolutely stunning presentation on diversity in the workplace and cross-cultural communication skills. So that was a really big job done by your friend Evan this afternoon. Really, I learn something every time I watch that. It's really great to see. So go over to this one. Procare Group are looking for workers' compensation and CTP investigators. So that's compulsory third-party motor vehicle insurance investigators for injuries caused to another person other than the insured driver. And they're looking for that in New South Wales. It's a great opportunity. Now, this one, opportunity of the week. You're going to be following on from one of the most qualified, experienced Australian Security Academy instructors that we've ever had, who's just left this role at the Brisbane City Council, and now it's been advertised. You got some big shoes to fill because the lady that was previously in that role was very good at her investigations and regulatory compliance and very well qualified. But if you want to earn $144,000 a year as a compliance enforcement investigator with a Certificate 4, and you preferably for this role you'll need a Diploma of Government Investigation, Brisbane City Council have just advertised that job this week. It's a great opportunity. Yeah, certainly it was good to see. Hi, Rosie. How are you going? I'm sure you enjoyed that presentation from Investigation Unis today. He's a great instructor. He'll be back to tell us more about that. Thanks for checking in, Rosie. All right, so down. This is what happened this week in the news before we come back to some more jobs. The Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division sent out their newsletter this week, and they said that they had arrested 8 people for using fake certificates in security and investigations. And one of them was a fake Australian Security Academy certificate. Here we go. Christmas in 2022, I was hard at work when the telephone rang. Australian Security Academy, Michael Evans speaking. On the other end of that phone call was a very strange man making a very strange inquiry. Now, having conducted teaching investigations for 23 years, I know what people inquire about, and I know how they sound and they act when they've got a genuine inquiry. And I've had 3 that certainly weren't genuine, and they stood out by the guilty nature of the person on the other end. And this guy was a classic. He gave his name and he asked really strange questions, which were odd, about studying CPP 30619 Certificate 3 in Investigative Services. It was a short phone call, thank God. And I hung up the phone and thought, that's pretty weird. Quite strange. So when you're interacting with me on the telephone, you interact with the CEO of the company. You don't speak to a marketing service in Brazil or one in some other country where they answer the telephone and handle inquiries and don't know what they're talking about. If you want to study something, security risk management, personal vetting, diploma of government fraud control, you speak to me and I tell you what it's all about. And I know what people ask. This guy was strange. I hung up the phone and his phone number was there on the screen. I could see it. I thought nothing more about it because I speak to about 50 people a day on the telephone. You try and ring me up, it's impossible to get me. Then an email came through to me about 2 weeks later from the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division. And I thought, oh no, what have I done now? What have I done this time? And it was a lovely, polite email handled really well. And it said, dear Mr. Evans, hope you're well. Can you confirm that this is one of your certifications you've issued? Now, every certification I've ever issued in the form that it had to be at that time is registered with the LRD. And it looks like this. It's got your name on it. It's got my signature on the bottom. Now, I've signed over 22,000 of these things, and my signatures never look the same on any of them, all right? But it's got an indicative idea of what my signature is. So, as you saw in that document, it wasn't on Australian Security Academy letterhead. It did not have my signature on it. It did not have how the LRD require the statement of results to look. The LRD use statements of results. They only require a one-page one, and the fake one was 1 page. That was about as good as they got. Anyway, the LRD asked me if that qualification was real or fake. I wrote back to them and said, look, that's a fake. And they said, thank you very much. And I said, I got an inquiry of a guy by the same name. He didn't use a secure phone number where I couldn't identify him. The guy had his name on his phone number. I went back through my phone calls, which was quite a few, and I took a screenshot of it and I sent it to the Victorian Police. They said, thank you. They don't give anything away. They're police officers, are very kind and very good about it and very polite about it. And I found that they handled that very well indeed, extremely well. They do at the Licensing Regulation Division in Victoria a very professional job in understaffed, underfunded, difficult and really intense circumstances. They do a great job at the LRD. So coming back to the issue of a false statement, what is that all about? But this week in Victoria, in the Victorian Police's Private Security Bulletin, which came out this week to everybody in the email, they identified that they had fraudulent certificates issued, and they've made 8 arrests as a result, and they are expecting to make other arrests. So what's the big deal about false certificates and presenting fake certificates for a private investigator licence or a security licence? Well, there are penalties for false and misleading statements and particulars, and those penalties are quite severe. I'll get rid of the banner. And if you issue a fake certificate, or if you put yourself out to be a fake LRD private investigator trainer with a qualifications certificate 4 in training and assessment and hold a CPP 30619 certificate 3 in investigative services, and you're not approved by the LRD and you don't have 5 years training experience, and you teach CPP 30619 certificate 3 in investigative services, you're providing false and misleading information. So here we've got a fake certificate. There are other ways of doing it, and the maximum penalty for that is 60 penalty units. So how much is a penalty unit worth in Victoria if you receive a penalty unit for supplying false and misleading information to a state government department? $184.92 up until the 30th of June 2023, when I'm sure it will go up. 60 penalty units, $184.90 each. What does that add up to? It's too late in the week to bother calculating that. It is $11,095.20. That's a lot of money. So if you provide false statements, or you put yourself out to be a trainer without a certificate 4 in training and assessment, a CPP 30619 certificate 3 in investigative services, and you fraudulently present yourself as an investigation instructor in Victoria, you are up for potentially $11,095.20 in penalty units. If you've got accomplices that are doing the same, both of them are going to be up for it too. So the best thing to do is not provide false and misleading information via application to present yourself as a trainer, application to present yourself as an investigator, application to present yourself as a security guard or firearms person. Don't do it. The penalties are expensive. Don't even think about it. You've been watching episode 190 of Spy Curious, where we warn you about fraudulent activity by fraudsters in Certificate 3 in Investigative Services training all around Australia. Hi, Chantel. Good to see you. Great for checking in. Thanks for checking in, Chantel. Thanks for checking in, Rosie and Tony and Sharon. It's good to see everybody. Hope you all have a great weekend. We've still got a lot more to go yet. We've got more jobs and some more information. So Q Workplace Solutions in Brisbane are looking for investigators up in for workplace investigations. Now, it's up in the air whether you're going to need a licence for that. Some people might be lawyers and they won't be required. But if you're not a lawyer, you're just a workplace investigator, you probably should have one. IBAC in Melbourne, where they're based, are looking for investigators. Get this, they're based in Melbourne and they're the public service overseer for fraud, corruption, that sort of stuff. They want investigators in Adelaide, Sydney, Darwin, Hobart, Melbourne and Brisbane. So that's really weird, but certainly, some investigations are going to require statements taking or people interviewed or surveillance or whatever in another state with what IBAC do. As a workplace investigator, NHN in Work Dynamic in New South Wales, they're looking for investigators for workers' compensation. Again, that's your WID investigators. I explained what WID was last week. It's work injury damages. So if you hear that term in your ads, that's what's happening. This is a great one. Now, it's a corporate investigation role for an insurance company, internal. You don't need a Certificate 3 in Investigative Services or a licence for it. You're going to need a qualification, though. So a Certificate 3 in Investigative Services proves you've got training. So that's with Yui at Sippy Downs on the Sunshine Coast, just on the way up to Noosa. When you're travelling to Noosa, you go past Sippy Downs on the new bypass now. So that's a great role opportunity there with Yui. So before this program today, we had Evan Frangos presenting on cross-cultural communication skills, and he presented this little diagram in his presentation. If you're a graduate student of the Australian Security Academy, you are a member of our industry association, AICLA, and you get access to our Investigations Friday Uni. Now, this is a great presentation and you shouldn't miss it. So you really should get in touch with me if you haven't been given access to Investigations Uni yet, and I'll arrange it, because Evan's presentation here and that little diagram he shows there briefly tells you a lot of information about cross-cultural communication and diversity. So that's your Investigations Uni. Let's go into it a little bit deeper. This is Mike Evans. So what is Investigations Uni? What is that all about? When you graduate from the Australian Security Academy with your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services, you automatically become a member of our industry association, AICLA. Now, membership of that association is free. No one will ever ask you to attend an event. No one will ever beg you for an annual fee where you don't get value for what you pay. All you have to do is open up your envelope where your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services, or your Certificate 4 in Government Security Personnel Vetting, or your Diploma of Fraud Control, or your Diploma of Security Risk Management, you will have in with that your membership form for AICLA, and it will say you are a member. That gives you access to our Industry Association Friday Uni support service. Every Friday, our graduates and our students get access to Friday Investigations Uni. Here, you can see extra study support for various units of competency among our 23 qualifications from Certificate 3 to Advanced Diploma. And you can see past episodes of that as well. What does that mean? It means you've got study support as you're studying. You've also got ongoing CPD in relation to you study on the Fridays. Now, if you can't make it live, it's live so you can ask questions of myself and Pat Flynn or Casey or Alex or any of our other instructors, Greg and the others. You can ask any of them questions live. So you save up your questions during the week and you say, excuse me for interrupting, but here's a question in the chat, and it'll be answered live on the spot. At any time, you can email me or call me and ask me a question, but Friday Uni is the opportunity to do it live. So here we go in depth into statement taking, fraud investigations, workers' compensation investigations, motor vehicle accident and CTP liability investigations. All of them are at Investigations Uni. All of them are a result of you being a member of AICLA on graduation from the Australian Security Academy, or a student studying at the Australian Security Academy. And if you want to know more about it, just contact me on the phone number that's behind the banner on your screen. There's my phone number. And if you contact me, you're a graduate student of the Australian Security Academy and you want access to our Friday Uni program where we support you with CPD. It's free for Australian Security Academy students. Other RTOs, if they even had it, would charge you for it, but they don't have it. So we lead the industry with this kind of innovation. Take full advantage of it, and I hope to see you in Friday Investigations Uni next week. Yeah, it's an industry-leading innovation. So you study your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services, you take that certificate, apply for your licence. The important thing when you apply for a job is you show your employer this certificate. They know from 23 years experience, they get a better quality Certificate 3 qualified person coming out of the Australian Security Academy. A lot of those employers train for the Australian Security Academy. If you get that job in Brisbane that I told you before at the Brisbane City Council, you'll be replacing a teacher of the Australian Security Academy. So employers look for this qualification. They see other ones that say El Cheapo. They've interviewed people from them before and had bad experiences with them not knowing how to take statements, not knowing how to keep notes, not knowing how to write reports. You're going to know all that when you study this course with your name on it at the Australian Security Academy. Employers are going to have confidence in you. A couple more jobs. Let's see what else we've got. There's some beauties out there this week. I've done Newey. Well done, Newey, up at Sippy Downs. So the Office of the Queensland Ombudsman, they want an investigator in Brisbane. So this is a Diploma of Government Investigation role for your 126 grand a year as an investigator working for the Queensland Ombudsman, undertaking all sorts of strange and curious investigations. NHN here, throughout New South Wales, they're looking for investigators. They must be licensed private investigators. They must be able to undertake factual investigations or surveillance investigations. So great opportunity there for with NHN. So get on and apply for it. Rumour Associates, they're looking for referrals for investigators in Indonesia and Vietnam. So do you know any investigators over there? Rumour and Associates would like you to contact them and PM them in relation to that. This is my risk management job of 2023. This is one of the rarest opportunities you will get. This organisation has done the security risk management for every Olympic Games since Sydney and every Commonwealth Games in between. These are the worldwide global security risk management experts at Intelligent Risks. They only employ talented, qualified people. Most of them have Australian Security Academy Certificate 4 in Security Risk Management or a Diploma of Security Risk Management. But if you want to add the Olympic Games and the Commonwealth Games on your resume, these are the people to work for. Don't miss this opportunity to work for Intelligent Risks. To find that job, watch the replay or go to our Facebook page where the jobs are. Told you about that before. I'm just trying to find it as I'm ad-libbing to fill in the time. There it is, Australian Private Investigator Corporate and Government Investigation Jobs on Facebook. You'll see that Intelligent Risk job there. You'll see that Brisbane Council job there. You'll see those licensed private investigator jobs there throughout New South Wales. MJM are looking for investigators in New South Wales to conduct workers' compensation claims. Farrells in New South Wales are looking for CAPI licensed investigators who are trained by qualified licensed 2D trainers like myself. So you'll have that, and they know that your instructor is CAPI certified and qualified. MJM are looking for investigators in Queensland, and Inside Intelligence, they want licensed private investigators in New South Wales to conduct work safe investigations. ABIR in New South Wales looking for workers' compensation investigators, and people get in touch with Clarity. If you're in Melbourne and you're licensed, get in touch with Clarity. They want to speak to you about working for them. And so do SureFact. I've referred a couple of our graduates this week to SureFact, and they're been accepted quite happily by the people at SureFact, and they've been getting ready to get onboarded at SureFact. ISG are looking for investigators in New South Wales. There is an abundant amount of investigation opportunities all around Australia, and that's not unusual, okay? So it's quite common. The other thing I'm often asked, and people always want me to go behind the scenes sometimes and give them a bit of an insight into what we do at the Australian Security Academy, is that all this, get on video every week and just, that's it, you just sit around eating donuts and drinking coffee. No, it's a little bit more than that. I'm often asked what goes on behind the scenes at the Australian Security Academy. Well, we are busy all week, every week throughout the year. Pat and myself will provide feedback on over 250 unit assessments to students studying at the Australian Security Academy each week. Every week, we replace around about 25 lost certificates right back through to 2001. We have a full-time person here who all they do is check the validity of the claim and reissue lost certificates. Now, there's a cost for that. Nobody asks me for a certificate that wasn't important when they got it, but is important now that they're applying for this job 16 years later, unless they want it tomorrow. So we have to do it quickly. We can't drop everything and leave all our other students in the lurch while we go searching for that certificate. So we have an employer that does that. If you need it, there's a cost. If you don't need it, that's okay. So we replace certificates, we give feedback, we plan our training, get this, for 2025 with government departments. Now, Australian Security Academy has never received a cent in government funding for anything it's ever done. But we do undertake competitive tenders, and because our training resources are excellent, our assessments can be tailored to suit the government department, we are constantly doing training for local, state and federal government departments around the country. So we're organising 2 years in advance for the study of those students. Not everything's left at the last minute. Government departments and investigation agencies actually capacity build to have their investigators and regulatory compliance officers working in the future as qualified people. Other than that, Pat and I are interacting on the progress of students and meeting to validate our assessments. So it's always a busy week at the Australian Security Academy. It's not always just simply training and assessment like you see on Fridays. Sometimes it's that behind the scenes work that adds real value and real weight to what we do in relation to our design, delivery and issuance of nationally recognised qualifications in investigations, risk management, fraud control, personnel vetting, mercantile agent and government diplomas. That's what we do. It's very busy. We do a whole lot of other stuff apart from all that, and so much of it I forget what we're doing sometimes. But our students are the priority, and our feedback to the students is really important. You go to some registered training places in Australia and you study a Certificate 3 in Investigative Services, not this one, you don't get feedback on your assessments. How are you going to go in a job interview if you've got no feedback on your assessments? You have to have feedback, demand feedback on your assessments, and it's got to be guidance and helpful feedback, not just, oh yeah, that's okay. Okay, it's okay because, all right. So we're raising the bar in industry associations with Investigations Uni and AIRLAP. We've maintained our reputation as the leading investigations RTO in Australia. And there's one more thing I've got to play today. So you want to become a licensed private investigator. Your role for the rest of your career will be to look for the way in, not the way out. You are paid to find information. People ask me, okay, that's great, you're going to teach me all that. And I go, yes, we shall. And you will grow into it. This is the beginner level, which is very high at Certificate 3. It's a really big deal if you enrol in a proper CPP 30619, Certificate 3 in Investigative Services course taught by professional investigators, not ex-cops. Okay, it's a really big deal. Employers, they know that if your certificate looks like this, they can rely on the contents of that certificate knowing that you can actually take statements. You can actually do records of interview. You can actually write reports. You can actually go out and gather information and keep it confidential. So if it's got Australian Security Academy on the letterhead and it's signed by Michael Evans, employers are confident in your ability to work for them and they want to speak to you. Here's a secret. They need you more than you need them. There's not enough investigators and there's too much work. So start studying your Certificate 3 in Investigative Services as soon as possible at the Australian Security Academy. Look for the way in, not the way out. The way in is to enrol and start studying. The way out is to find excuse. Oh, it's not the right time of year. I can't do it at the moment. I'm too busy. Don't look for the way out. Look for the way in. Can't give you better advice than that. At the Australian Security Academy, all our employees' benefits and superannuation is paid and up to date. Our tax is completely paid and up to date. We're a low-risk enrolment environment at the Australian Security Academy. Recently, the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division shut down the International Security Training Academy in Victoria while they still had students. They owed a lot of money. They recently, before that, shut down another major registered training organisation in relation to a matter of the credibility of the owner and charges and allegations against the owner. Nothing proved in court as yet, but simply charges. So there is a lot to consider when you choose your registered training organisation that you're going to study under. Is the course a quality course that employers know from experience of other students that they will have some success with you? Now, the employers want you. Now, I've told you the secret. They need you more than you need them, because if they can get 3 more investigators, they can add $15,000 a week to the turnover of their organisations. That's just economic common sense. They will induct you, they will grow you, they will get you up to a standard, and you'll be working self-employed in a lot of cases. Sometimes they'll employ you, they might supply a car, but that will relate to performance and the quality of your statements and your reports, that sort of thing. But they will get you up to a standard that's going to set you up for the rest of your life. Will you be replaced by artificial intelligence at a computer? 30 years ago, I thought that might be the problem when I started as a licensed private investigator. But nope, that has not happened. And I can't see that happening for a very long time. If you put in an insurance claim and you're talking to a robot about an expensive, serious matter, and you're without a vehicle or you've been injured at work, I don't think people are going to accept talking to robots for another 30 years. They may then, and then your robot can talk to their robot. That might be how it goes. I don't know. So busy week, lots of job opportunities, amazing work down in Victoria by the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division. 8 people arrested over fake certificates, and they are facing a fine of maximum fine of $11,095.20 for each one. Now, if the magistrate's had a bad night or been a victim of some kind of fraud, cryptocurrency or something like that, all these 8 people, life's not going to be good for them when the magistrate goes, oh, yeah, I think I'll go maximum penalty, 60 penalty units, $11,095.20. That's what they're facing. So great job by the Victorian Police Licensing Regulation Division. Lots of jobs out there. Get on the Australian Security Academy Facebook page. You have been watching episode 193 years of Friday afternoons at 2 o'clock. We've been coming out and presenting this information to you. Nobody else has done that. Why not? I don't know. I'm doing it for the Australian Security Academy and for our students and for our industry and for our country. Yeah, better believe that. Okay, so let's close down and go like we usually do. This is our goodbye each week.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
Yes, that's how every investigation agency on Friday afternoon ends its week. All units return to base. Mission complete. This unit's going for a swim in the swimming pool because it's very hot. Thanks for tuning in, people. Great to see your smiling faces out there. Don't forget, have a look at Evan's presentation. Sorry about the start of it with the thunderstorm that went past, but where it got important, after 5 minutes, it was clear and fine through there. So that's an investigations uni. I'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching, people.